Sometimes, trying to fix a big problem can backfire spectacularly, and no one managed it quite like the people in this story. Back in the late 70s, Japan faced a serious issue. Venomous snake bites, especially in rural areas, were a major threat. To combat this, they introduced mongooses, hoping these predators would reduce the snake population and save lives. But instead of solving the problem, they triggered a massive environmental disaster. How bad was it? Let's find out. Venomous Habu snake bites were a significant concern in parts of Japan, with nearly 400 cases reported in 1980 alone, some of them fatal. These snakes, like their relatives, rattlesnakes and puff adders, were deadly and made life in these areas extremely risky. The problem was worse because there wasn't an effective antidote for years. Even when one was developed, it needed refrigeration, which wasn't feasible in remote villages without electricity. Establishing power lines was expensive and slow, leaving many people unable to access treatment in time. Japan's solution? Bring in mongooses, animals known for hunting snakes and resisting venom. It sounded like a great idea at first, but things quickly spiraled out of control. Venom, like many plans, things didn't go as expected. But don't worry, they eventually got it under control. The star of the story? The mongoose. In 1979, about 30 Indian mongooses were introduced to Amami Oshima Island to tackle a growing problem, controlling the Habu snake population and reducing rats. Native to South Asia, mongooses weren't suited to Japan's ecosystem, and their arrival caused unforeseen disruptions to local wildlife. By 1993, their numbers had surged, reaching around 10,000 by 2000, prompting concern from the Ministry of the Environment. Did they reduce Habu snakes? Technically, yes, but not because of the mongooses. They preferred easier prey, leaving the snake bite problem largely unsolved. On paper, mongooses seemed like the perfect solution. Agile and fast, they are skilled hunters, especially of cobras, a relative of the Habu. Thanks to venom-resistant receptors, they can survive bites that would kill most animals. With sharp teeth and quick reflexes, they seemed like the ideal snake control, but reality proved otherwise. The plan had a big flaw: mongooses are active during the day, while Habu snakes are nocturnal. They rarely crossed paths, and even when they did, mongooses weren't great snake hunters. Catching snakes is tough and requires effort. With easier prey like mice and rabbits around, why bother? It's like choosing between a fancy, time-consuming meal and a quick snack. Naturally, they picked the easy option. Despite their reputation as snake hunters, mongooses failed at the job they were brought to Japan to do. Meanwhile, mongooses thrived in the island's environment and reproduced rapidly. By 2000, the Japanese government launched a program to control their population. Since then, around 32,000 mongooses have been captured. The last known capture was in April 2018, and no new sightings have been reported since. Experts declared the mongoose population on Amami Oshima Island fully eradicated, a victory celebrated by the Ministry of the Environment, though the mongooses probably wouldn't agree. How did Japan manage to remove these invasive animals? It wasn't easy. Early efforts involved placing traps along roads, but these rarely caught mongooses. A broader strategy was needed. Specialized traps, toxic bait, and attractants targeting the animal's sense of smell were introduced. Search dogs also helped with monitoring. This mix of methods worked, with a steady decline in mongoose numbers visible in population graphs. The new traps were designed to target mongooses while avoiding harm to other wildlife. Local residents were key to the effort. Since 2005, teams of hunters, locals and volunteers have tirelessly searched the forests and mountains, setting traps and capturing mongooses. Their dedication played a crucial role in eradicating the species from the island. Population control is a critical issue, and some may wonder if such drastic action was needed to address the mongoose problem. Why not just leave them alone? The answer is simple: they caused significant harm. Instead of controlling the snake population as intended, mongooses preyed on native species like the endangered Amami rabbit and other vulnerable wildlife. Amami Oshima, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is home to rare species vital to its ecosystem. The Amami rabbit, often called a living fossil, is the last of an ancient lineage of Asian rabbits and now survives only on 2 small islands. Mongooses severely threaten their existence, along with ryukyu rats and about 15 other native species. The impact didn't stop there. Farmers suffered as mongooses attacked farm birds, raided crops, and spread diseases to livestock. Within 2 decades, habitats for small animals shrank by 40%. What started as a well-meaning plan to control snakes ended up devastating the island's delicate ecosystem. Islands are especially vulnerable to new predators due to their unique ecosystems, where species lack defenses against unfamiliar threats. When the mongoose was introduced, its opportunistic feeding caused severe damage. The case of Amami Oshima is a strong reminder of the need to carefully evaluate the impact of non-native species. It took nearly 25 years to eradicate the mongooses and almost 50 years to fully restore the ecosystem. While removal efforts may seem harsh, Japan's decision was necessary to protect its native wildlife. Invasive species can cause irreversible harm if not addressed early. Now, let's briefly shift focus to another example of disrupting nature's balance. This image shows a Japanese temple surrounded by a surge of rabbits. The temple had been abandoned for decades, allowing wildlife to thrive undisturbed. When it was repopulated in 2022, the rabbits reacted defensively, uneasy with the return of humans. This serves as a reminder of nature's unpredictable responses, much like the events involving snakes. Japan's success in eradicating mongooses on Amami Oshima is remarkable, one of only 9 cases worldwide and the first on such a large island. This achievement highlights the importance of quick action to protect fragile ecosystems. For context, Habu snake bites have significantly decreased. By 2020, cases dropped to about 60 annually, not because of mongooses but due to preventive measures and improved access to antidotes. Since 1992, there have been no fatalities from Habu bites. A graph shows a steady decline in cases, with black bars marking instances where antidotes were used. This progress emphasizes the power of proactive solutions. Accessible medical care and community education are vital for addressing public health challenges, including mitigating snake bites. While mongooses failed to solve the snake problem, collective community efforts greatly reduced the risks. However, the fight against invasive species like mongooses continues. They remain on other islands, and lessons from Amami Oshima are being applied to new areas like northern Okinawa, where mongooses have been spotted. Concerns persist that Okinawa's mongooses might reinvade Amami Oshima, potentially restarting eradication efforts. Mongooses were first introduced to Okinawa during the Meiji era, 70 years before arriving at Amami Oshima. 17 mongooses were released, and Okinawa's climate and habitat allowed their population to explode. Mongooses in Okinawa now have higher birth and survival rates, complicating control efforts. While northern Okinawa populations are being managed, they still thrive in central and southern areas. Fences with L-shaped bases have been effective at curbing their spread, as mongooses rarely climb over or burrow under them. Despite these measures, 3 endemic bird species in Okinawa now depend on controlling the mongoose population. The mongoose introduction in Japan is an example of biological control, introducing one species to manage another. This method has been widely studied and used globally. Successful cases include releasing predatory insects to protect crops. However, thorough research is critical to avoid unintended consequences, as seen with mongooses in Japan. The small Asian mongoose has been introduced to several countries, including Cuba, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and others, with mixed results. Hawaii provides another cautionary tale. In the 1800s, sugarcane was Hawaii's top crop, but rats were destroying the fields. Inspired by Caribbean practices, plantation owners introduced mongooses from India to control the rats. However, the plan backfired, highlighting the risks of poorly planned biological control strategies. In the 1880s, Hawaiian planters imported 72 mongooses from Jamaica to the Big Island, hoping to fix their rat problem. The mongooses' offspring were sent to other islands like Maui, Molokai, and Oahu. Even then, some doubted the plan, suggesting more research on how mongooses had fared in the Caribbean. Sadly, those warnings were ignored.